This is why Gen Xers and old millennials like myself should be talking to their parents about estate planning and long-term care. I'm Taylor Kaspar, owner and managing attorney of Legacy Estate Planning, where we help parents leave the legacy their kids deserve so they can have peace of mind. So this is why Gen Xers, and I would even say like the older side of the millennial generation, should be talking to their parents about estate and long-term care planning. And here's number one, because it really helps to be financially prepared. For a lot of people who are living in the middle class, their parents who are older might suffer some sort of health crisis, or even when they do pass away and it comes time to pay for funeral expenses and expenses of final illness or probate and estate administration types of costs with the court and with attorneys and things like that, and they're just not set up with cash on hand lying around to be able to take over those costs and those expenses. A lot of families are one significant health crisis away from being totally impoverished by that crisis, which has trickle-down effects onto the next generation. And so it's really important to have a plan in place for what happens if you do get sick, so that it doesn't become financially burdensome on the children of those individuals, because there's not money there for the parents to be caring for themselves. The second reason that Gen Xers should be talking to their parents about estate planning and long-term care is because the parents might have some thoughts and considerations about their own healthcare wishes. A lot of people have at least thought about what would they want to happen to them if they had some sort of major health crisis and they were going to be intubated, or what would happen if they lost certain faculties. When is quality of life more important than continuing to live? And that can be a lot for a child to take on, even though they're an adult child in their 30s, 40s, or maybe even 50s, to take on what's going to happen to your parents. Like, how do you decide when enough is enough? How do you decide what to do for them when they can't advocate for their healthcare wishes for themselves? Another big healthcare situation that we see come up is that a lot of parents and elderly individuals want to continue to live in their homes. Not everybody wants to move into an expensive apartment type living situation, and not everybody can afford it. Some people just want to age in place and continue to live and age where they are. And if that's what the parents want, the children need to know and understand that, because there's some work that needs to be done to make sure that the resources are there to support that, and to make sure that the care is there to support that we can find people and companies to come into the home to render housekeeping services, nursing services, do the laundry, provide companion care, and then also how are the children going to play a role? When are the children going to spend overnights? And when are the children going to do some of the cleaning and the cooking and the things like that? So having those conversations around healthcare are incredibly crucial. The third consideration about why Gen Xers should be talking to their parents about estate planning and long-term care is that it can greatly benefit family dynamics. You'd be surprised about who thinks they should be in control of certain things. I have sat in a number of planning sessions where the children have been a party to it, and the children have been surprised by who the parents chose as their healthcare agents and their financial agents and their trustees. In fact, I sat in a situation just last year where there were multiple children, 3 or 4 children in the family, and one of the children lived in the home with the parents, and that child was not chosen as a healthcare agent and was sorely surprised. And so it was great that that child learned about that at the planning session and not when something had happened to mom and dad. Because how much more devastating would that be when you're in a moment of crisis where you're already dealing with so much emotionally, to find out that you've been not chosen or almost left out of that decision, and not given any authority after the fact when it's done. And I can see how that would be incredibly hurtful and incredibly harmful to the relationship amongst the siblings as well. And so it is super helpful to be having these conversations in advance, because then parents have the opportunity to say, this is who I choose and this is why I choose them. Because children are, us Gen Xers and millennials are not necessarily going to have the same viewpoint and perspective as our parents on who is the person that should make money decisions, health decisions, living decisions, manage certain things in certain aspects. And so it's really, really important to get it out there right now, because then we can have those conversations about why the choices are being made the way they are and preserve some of those family relationships that may otherwise be lost. Another thing for children to talk about with their parents, this is consideration number 4, is about legacy. So much of estate planning and long-term care planning isn't just about where your stuff goes when you die. It's more about, or equally at least as much about, passing on the legacy, right? Our parents are trying to give us the things they never had, or give us the best of the things that they had, and build up their kids and their grandkids and all of those things. And all of that goes into legacy. So there are a lot of things aside from just the money and the house and the investment accounts and the retirement that our parents do really want to pass down to us. And maybe those are the memories in the family cabin, which is another big asset. But sometimes it's things much smaller. Like, I had a client who had 4 children, and each time she had a child, the husband gave her a piece of jewelry. And so it was important to her to be able to pass on each piece of jewelry to the child for whom she received the gift. And there's a story behind that, and there's a little piece of history and a memory behind that. And those are some of the things that I think I would appreciate if I heard those stories from my parents during their lives and didn't have to wait, right? And was able to carry that memory with me kind of on even after they were gone. And the 5th reason, the last reason, at least the last reason we're going to talk about today for why Gen Xers should be talking to their parents about estate planning and long-term care, is that there are a lot of practical considerations to get into when you're talking about these things. Sometimes it seems really complicated and really niche, and you need an attorney and a financial advisor and all those things. And you do. You totally do. But some of the things that need to be considered are, if a parent goes into long-term care, where are they going to go? Because maybe they want to be in close proximity to the grandkids so they can get visitors. Or if they're going to go into a tiered care type of a setting where there's independent living in apartments, and then it scales up and ratchets up as the care is necessary. Maybe it's a value to not have to be moved more than once. Maybe somebody just wants to get into somewhere where they can stay there all the way throughout the duration of their life. So, and then there's of course the finances and the money and the moving things around, and how do we shift assets, and how do we protect and preserve as much as possible to optimize the care during the parent's lifetime while still having something on a legacy level to leave to the kids. And so lots of practical considerations of just logistics. Who can visit if mom lives here, who can help if mom stays at home. So those are a lot of the other practical considerations that just need to be thought about when children are talking to their parents about what's next, what's coming up on the horizon. Remember that estate planning and long-term care are so much more than just a will. And so if you want to know more about all of the pieces that you should be considering when you're looking at creating a full working legacy plan, make sure to download our free checklist that's in the description below. And of course, if you want to know more about estates and long-term care planning, make sure you subscribe to this channel and like this video and turn on notifications so that you never ever miss an update from me. Cheers.